Hey guys, it's Angelo, and today we'll be revisiting the Holy Priest, looking at all of the issues it's currently facing on the World of Warcraft Shadowlands Alpha. The Holy Priest all in all seems relatively solid and seems comparatively unaffected by the removal of Azurite traits, essences, and corruption, but this is simply because of the so passive, almost autonomous playstyle from Battle for Azeroth's Holy Priest iteration. In Shadowlands, the Holy Priest fights this overly simplistic playstyle once more, and by the looks of it now, the spec's foundation will have to be changed entirely in order to prevent this. Keep in mind that this is still the alpha, so everything you see is subject to change, of course. Now, if you want an overall first look at the Holy Priest on the Shadowlands Alpha, then be sure to take a look at the video suggestion popping up on the top right side of your screen now, as in this video we'll be taking a more detailed look, so not really explaining all the spells and what exactly they do, but much rather how these spells are affecting, or well, are not affecting in the case of the Holy Priest, our rotation and gameplay. In this video, we'll be discussing the effects of the removal of Azurite systems, so traits and essences, changes and issues with our rotation and healing priorities, as well as current talent issues and how these problems could be fixed. Now, if you want to follow the discussion with everything World of Warcraft related, be sure to join our Discord server with the link in the description box below, and be sure to subscribe if you enjoy these types of videos. Good, I'm glad that you found my channel nonetheless if you are new, and I hope that these videos will help you out. Now with that being said, and without any further ado, let's go right ahead and have a look. Okay, so let's start us off with the impact that the removal of the entire Azurite system has on the spec. The Heart of Azeroth gave us a lot of helping factors, predominantly Azurite traits and Azurite essences. Throughout most of our time with these were very passive for the Holy Priest, like Vision of Perfection and the According Divine Hymn proc, or not really gameplay changing, like Lifebinder's Invocation. The removal of Azurite traits is actually not noticeable for the Holy Priest at all, as not a single trait actually changed our rotation, our playstyle, or our healing priorities. All Azurite traits we used throughout the expansion were simple stat stakes or ability amplifiers, so the only effect we get through their removal is that Prayer of Healing should not really be spammed anymore, as we're not stacking Prayer for Litany like at the end of Battle for Azeroth. With Word of Mending removed, our cooldown reduction of Holy Word Sanctify is slightly higher again, but since we only rarely use this trait at the current last stages of BFA, this is not noticeable to most players either way. So, as you can see, the removal of traits is essentially not noticeable at all, so let's take a closer look at the removal of Azurite essences. As stated before, these were pretty much entirely passive for the Holy Priest, and the most noticeable difference is that our overall throughput is lower with the removal of Vision of Perfection's Divine Hymn procs. The same goes for other essences, which were mostly used as minor ones, including the Formless Void, the Well of Existence, or Conflict and Strife. Now in one way, this is an advantage for the Holy Priest in comparison to other healers. This means that the Covenant system in Shadowlands and the Legendaries can essentially only enhance the spec's playstyle, and we will not feel a negative impact of the Azurite removal at the start of the expansion. When comparing this to the Disc Priest, for example, this is a lot better, as our rotation won't feel clunky and we will most likely not have to change any core talents around either. Good, now let's take a look at our rotation and healing issues, and here we see many problems from Battle for Azeroth carrying over to Shadowlands, and these do have me a bit worried about the Holy Priest. Okay. So let's start us off with the biggest issue. We get a lot of damage spells back, like Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Word Death, and even Mind Sear and Mind Blast, but we get no way at all to tie these spells into our healing rotation. And the reason this is such an issue is the fact that currently other healers are very good at tying these things together, like the Holy Paladin, the Disc Priest, or the Mistweaver Monk. As damage plays such an important role, not being able to somehow tie it into our rotation really sets the Holy Priest back by a lot. An easy fix for this would be to have our damage abilities grant us a chance to proc a variety of spells. Perhaps a Shadow Word Pain tick has the chance to proc a free Prayer of Mending on an ally, or using Mind Blast or Shadow Word Death has a chance to make our next prayer of healing be free or instant, and so on. You get the idea. Not having our damage rotation tie into our healing is one of the major reasons why the Holy Priest is currently a rather less likely pick for healing comps and raids, as well as in Mythic Plus. Another issue the Holy Priest brings with it is its survivability, which actually ties in with utility as well as mobility. The Holy Priest is a comparatively immobile healer and has to stand still for long periods of time to blanket heal raid groups or to channel or cast long healing cooldowns like Divine Hymn or Holy Word Salvation. To compensate for this, both Holy Word Sanctify and Holy Word Serenity are instant casts, as well as of course Circle of Healing and Prayer of Healing, both baseline and instant cast in Shadowlands, but this is still bad as it forces us to time cooldowns very carefully when we're able to stand completely still for up to 8 seconds when casting, for example, Divine Hymn. These movement restrictions are also hindering our utility, as our Symbol of Hope, which grants mana for you and all raid group healers, needs to be channeled for almost 5 seconds, again forcing you to complete standstill in that time frame. Compare this to the Mana Spring Totem with the Shaman, or rather which the Shaman receives, and this ability feels incredibly underwhelming and comes at a very high drawback. Now, to be honest, there's no simple fix for this, and this has been the problem for the Holy Priest for a very, very long time. Symbol of Hope, in my opinion, should definitely work similarly to the Mana Spring Totem, in the sense that you just activate it and it runs during the duration itself, no matter if you're moving or not. In return for this strength, take away the min-maxing around it, which occurs when using it at lower levels of mana, which is when it will generate more mana, something the Mana Spring Totem does not do, mind you. Apart from that, the other spells can't really have less channel time, unless the developers would perhaps buff Divine Hymn to do more healing but over a shorter period of time, in order to of course balance it back out. Tell me what you think. Any solution you have floating around your mind? Be sure to let us know in the comments below, and next up we'll be looking at our talent issues, and once more, many issues which are currently present carry over into Shadowlands unattended for. When looking at our talents, 3 issues specifically stick out. Firstly, in a level 40 talent row, we have a new talent, Prayer Circle, replacing Circle of Healing, which is now of course baseline. Prayer Circle in and of itself is a great talent in my opinion, as it reduces the cast time of Prayer of Healing by 30% for 8 seconds whenever you use Circle of Healing, making these two spells go hand in hand and increasing our group healing strength. The problem here though is that this playstyle is incredibly, and I mean incredibly, mana draining, which could very possibly make the talent be outshined by Binding Heal during the early stages of Shadowlands especially. The next problem comes in form of Apotheosis. Apotheosis remains unchanged in Shadowlands, and therefore comes with the same talent flaws as are currently the case. Apotheosis is in a weird spot because it's very weak in a raiding environment, but also incredibly weak in a 5-man environment where it should theoretically be pretty strong. Once more, this could potentially be fixed. Either make all spells during Apotheosis castable while moving, increase the damage increased to Holy Word Chastise and the healing increased to our Holy Words, or increase the duration of Apotheosis. Currently, due to its low uptime for 20 seconds and a cooldown of 2 minutes and its comparatively low increase of throughput therefore, Apotheosis is not only outshined by Salvation on one hand in a raiding environment, but also by Light of the Naru in a Mythic Plus environment. Our final issue comes in the form of Holy Word Salvation. Though a fun cooldown in and of itself, Holy Word Salvation offers no engaging gameplay aspect, and due to it being so overwhelmingly strong within its talent row when it comes to raiding, offers no real flexibility to the Holy Priest, essentially forcing the player to be a strong, big group healer, and therefore passively pushing the spec into the direction of only being strong when healing in big groups. Unfortunately, this shouldn't only be blamed on Salvation, even though Salvation is definitely partially to blame. The Holy Priest in its core is clearly tailored towards only truly being able to display its full potential once in very big groups. Our mastery and almost all of our spells enhance this idea, and this would be fine if only there were alternatives to this, and means for the spec to be strong and competitive in other healing scenarios as well. All in all, and even though with some clear issues, I feel as if the Holy Priest should not see any dips in performance in Shadowlands. By the current looks of it, the spec will play essentially the same as it does currently, which will make it a strong pick for the early stages of raiding, while perhaps a rather lackluster pick in Mythic Plus and early dungeon content. Again, how much the Covenants, our Soulbinds, Conduits and the legendary items will affect all of this remains to be seen, but honestly due to the spec's layout, things can only go upward for the Holy Priest. Let me know what you think though. Do you think the Holy Priest requires change? Do you want it to remain the way it is currently? Well, be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, a special thanks as always to my supporters over at Patreon, and a thank you to everyone for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, then be sure to give it a like, and if you wish to remain updated on the content of this channel, feel free to subscribe. Now, as always, have a good one my friends, enjoy the remainder of patch 8.3, and I will see you all in the next one.